It's time for a mid-year check-in. Hello and welcome. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. My name is Callie, and I thought it would be a little fun to go over the books that we have finished so far this year. And by books I finished, I mean completed series. There's been quite a couple series that I'm pretty proud to have finished because I am notorious for starting a series and then kind of keep pushing it off because there's so many good books that come out each month, especially this year. This has been like a pretty good year for new releases. And while I was looking at the amount of series that I've completed, and I'm not counting series that are not yet completed by the author. I'm counting completed series besides one that was like a little funky, and we'll get to that later, that I have read. So there's no pending books. It's done. Grab yourself a little snack or a drink or get cozy on the couch, and let's just jump right into it. The first series I completed this year was the first Law Trilogy by Joe Abercrombie. Now, my husband recommended these books to me. I'd never heard of Joe Abercrombie. And he said, you know what? I know you like higher fantasy. You need to try this. I think you're going to like it. And I read the back of the book and I was like, am I going to like this? We have a man named Glocta and he's a torturer. Maybe. I jumped in completely blind to this series. And let me tell you, I'm so glad that I did. Joe Abercrombie, the way he writes is just so special, and he's able to make you feel things like fear. I don't normally feel fear in a book, and some of these scenes I felt creeped out and like a little spooked. Book one is The Blade itself, and you're following a very diverse group of people. You have Glocta, who is a torturer. You have Logan Ninefingers, who is a barbarian. You have Baez, who's the first of the Magi, however you say that. So he's kind of like a wizard, essentially. And then you have Captain Jezzel Van Luther, if I'm correct. And he is this nobleman's son. So very privileged, very rich, has been given everything life has to offer because of who he is. You start out with all these different perspectives, and you're seeing such different versions of the story, and you're watching them all start to come together. And this book will make you question your morals because you're watching some of the decisions these people make. And what do you do? What do you do when every decision is bad? What do you do when no matter what, if you make this decision or this decision, people die? How do you make that choice on who deserves to die more? And like it just made me question myself and some of the choices I would have made, because sometimes I agreed with our characters and I'm like, do it. And then other times I'm like, no, I 100% would have done this. Don't care. And given my decisions might have been worse than the ones they made. There's no knowing, there's no telling, but fantastic book, heavy on politics. You do go on a quest or a journey throughout this trilogy as well, but absolutely phenomenal. I would 100% recommend this. There are a couple standalones that follow some of the characters from this, so that is where I'm at in my Joe Abercrombie journey. I think it's Best Served Cold is the next. It's a standalone that comes after this trilogy. If you haven't read it, read this series. The next series I finished was The Crowns of Nyaxia, the first duology in that world. And that's following Oriah. For the life of me, I can't remember the male's name. But we're following Oriah. I loved Oriah. I read the book for Oriah. This is a book that is set in a world of vampires. Our FMC Oriah is a human living in the vampires world. She was adopted by the head vampire, Vincent, when she was a baby, and he has raised her as his child her entire life. And she has had to learn to be around all of these powerful beings and still survive. So she is one BA woman. Now, a type of games and trials comes up, this competition, and whoever wins this competition gets a gift by the goddess. There's only so much a human can do in the world of vampires, so she wants to win that gift from the goddess. However, going into this competition, she is set up against all of these really powerful vampires. The best of the best enter this competition. So she's going to be going up against them. And in this book, we meet our MMC. And this isn't just an enemies to lovers. This is an enemies to lovers to enemies to... I don't even know what you would call it, to be honest. It is not just a lovey-dovey romance. Book 1 was phenomenal. I absolutely loved it. There was a plot twist that I did not see coming, and oh my gosh, to be able to read that again for the first time. I didn't see that coming. It was really good. Book 2, I don't think was as good as book 1, but that's just because I didn't love the relationship in the second book as much as I did when they were in the first. I don't know. I don't want to say too much. I don't want to spoil anything. Would I still recommend this series? Absolutely. It was still a great series and I really enjoyed it. It ripped me right out of a reading slump. I next finished the Vincula realm. I think it's called the Vincula realm and it's a duology. It is the Umbra King and Eternum. The Umbra King I had a blast with. You have a morally gray FMC consumed by her rage. A shadow daddy MMC, found family, enemies to lovers, fated mates, and it's spicy. Our FMC literally embodies feminine rage. She is so consumed by her rage, she does not care what else happens to her. She is going to get her revenge. When our FMC is younger, she had a twin. She watched her twin get unalived. And now she will stop at nothing to find out who did it. Book 1 had amazing character growth. The plot was plotting. Side characters that were just... chef's kiss, and like the spice to plot balance was very well done. It was a good, perfect amount. And I got to book 2. I feel like that says it. I did not like book 2. I mean, it was okay. Let me just say it this way. It was okay. It was a disappointment though. It was very slow because something happens at the end of book 1 and we're reliving a lot of things that we've already done in book 1. So it's kind of like you're reading a lot of similar material. I wanted to progress with the story. I just wanted to move forward. I didn't want to relive things I literally just read. Maybe if I'd taken a break in between them, it wouldn't have bothered me as much, but I read them back to back. So I was like, okay, I feel like I'm wasting my time here. It did have a satisfying ending. It was good. Would I recommend this series? I don't think so. I think if you find it and you pick it up and you feel like it's for you, go for it. But it's not something I would be like, this is amazing. You must read it right now. Then I found this series and I went absolutely feral for it. I'm talking, I read 8 books like within less than a week. Did not put these books down. I read multiple in a day, given some of them are a little short. I absolutely loved it. And that is The Protectors Guild by Gray Holborn. I read books 1 through 8 like it was nothing. This is set in an academic setting, a slow burn that will eventually be a reverse harem. We have a strong FMC. There are vampires and werewolves, mystical creatures. Book 1 is really short and kind of just gives you a quick glimpse into that world and a very, very little bit about what's going on. Our FMC is kind of off in the woods with her and her brother and her dad, the person looking out for her. She knows nothing about this school. Something happens and now she's attending it. And it kicks off from there. It was such a good time. When I say it's a slow burn, it is slow burn, but the payoff was so delicious. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Now, for the main question, was it worth it after reading 8 books in a series? Absolutely. It was absolutely worth it. There was only one book that kind of gave middle book syndrome. That still got 3 stars. Overall, it was a solid 4-star series for me. And it kept me engaged the entire time. Loved it. If you like mystical creatures and vampires and werewolves and academic settings, and if you don't mind there being more than one male love interest, check this series out. So good. And then something happened. Something big happened. I found Dungeon Crawler Carl. And the world changed for me. I was consumed by this series. I read all 7 books. I listened to all 7 books in like miraculous time because it takes me forever normally to read audiobooks. I swear I listened to a 24-hour audiobook within 2 days. That's nuts for me. Absolutely nuts. If you don't know what Dungeon Crawler Carl is, the best way to describe it is that aliens kind of take over Earth. Everything in our world as we know it is gone. Whoever was outside when the aliens officially took over lived. Everyone who was inside of a building got sucked down into the ground and they're gone, never to be seen again. Maybe. The people that are left outside get to decide, do they want to go into this dungeon or do they want to try to survive with nothing and like be a very, like live a very primitive lifestyle? Those who decide to go into the dungeon find out that they are now on an alien TV show and they must survive through a certain amount of floors in order to get out of it. So they're either going to die trying or survive. And it just consumed me. It is the best series I've ever read. I just, nothing compares. Nothing compares to that type of book. There are other series I've read that are in my God tier, and this is one of them. This is 100% up there with John Gwynne and Throne of Glass. Like, it's up there. Absolute full experience. If you haven't read this series yet, listen to it on audio as you're reading. It makes it so much better. I cannot wait for book 8. Oh, I guess this isn't a completed series, but I don't care. I finished all 7 and it is worth mentioning. I just realized I said this was completed. Oh well. It's fantastic. I loved it. This year, towards the end of last year and the beginning of this year, I found dark rom-coms and they're not for everyone, but they are for me. I love dark rom-coms. I finished the Ruinous love trilogy this year. It ended with Scythe and Sparrow by Brynne Weaver. And this one followed Fionn and... was it Rose? I think it was Rose. Rose and Fionn. And this book was giving me... Rose as an FMC was giving me Sloane from book 1 mixed with a little bit of Sibby vibes, but like a tame Sibby. PG-13 version of Sibby. Fionn was just, I think he might be one of my favorite MMCs. He's like this quiet, nerdy guy, and I will always go feral for the quiet, nerdy guy. I love the bad boys, but the quiet nerd, I will always take the quiet nerd. It was just a very fun, unique story. The trilogy itself was about serial killers that go after bad people. And I just love that concept. I think if you're going to be a person that does bad things, do bad things for the greater good. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little off on thinking that way, but in my opinion, if you're going to do it, you might as well save people in the process, right? So would I recommend this series? Yeah, I think it's going to be only for certain types of people. But if you like darker books, if you like that kind of Dexter type of vibes, I would say, yeah, you should give this one a try. Book 1 and 3 were my favorites. 2 was just very different. The personalities of those characters are different, but I did like Leather and Lark as well. Recently, I got into doing my TBR wheel, and one of the choices from that wheel was Beartown. I completed the Beartown trilogy in like a record time. I have never read more real characters than the characters that were in Beartown. In Beartown, we follow an entire community. We're not just following 1 or 2 people. We're following a huge community of people. And they live, eat, and breathe hockey. Everything revolves around hockey at this town. When their hockey team does well, there's more jobs available. There's more sponsorships to get things done. There's more money coming into their very small town that's like out in the woods. And they just so happen to have very extremely talented young kids in this town, and they are determined to show that they can make in the hockey world. They have a rival town that's kind of like through the woods. I don't know. I picture it being north. I don't know if it actually is or not. It might actually be south from them, but that's just how I pictured it. Anyways, they have a rival town who's also all about hockey, and that's their big rivalry. They are constantly butting heads. So there is this really big game, and right before the big game, something traumatic happens. And the story, well, yes, it's about hockey. A lot of it is about hockey. It's also about all of these people, how the community is doing after this traumatic event, how life is going on, the choices people make, the people that are supported or not supported, the people that make decisions just because it's the right decision to make, and then the people that do things because they're doing what's best for them and their child. And honestly, it is another book that makes you question yourself and your morals, because in that situation, would you do what's right? Or would you do what you need to do for your own child? There is right and wrong answers, but when you're seeing things from their point of view, you're kind of seeing that perspective of that parent or that child and why they made those decisions. And it's kind of messes with your head a little bit, if I'm being completely honest. It was one of the best books I've ever read. I cannot stop thinking about it. It is, you will not see certain things coming, and it will rip your heart out and it will break it, and then it'll put it back together only to stomp on it again and crush it into pieces. Like, this isn't a story that's lovey and like lovey-dovey and meant to have a happy ending for everybody. This story is like real life, and in real life things happen, and it just is what it is. Your choices do matter, and your choices will affect you throughout the rest of your life. And I think Fredrik Backman is just so masterful at being able to get all of these different points across, make you feel so many different ways and question yourself. And I think that's just so, I will forever love Fredrik Backman for the way he makes me feel while I'm reading these books. Do I recommend them? Yes. Yes, I do, but be wary going into them. There are triggers. There are things that are going to upset a lot of people, so it might not be for everyone, but I would highly recommend it. That's one of those books that just, I feel like it changed me. It changed me, and not necessarily, like, not in a bad way. The last series that I finished so far this year was the Wolf King. I don't know if there's a name for it, but let me say it this way. It was supposed to be a duology as far as I had heard. I read The Wolf King, I want to say last year. It was like a Scottish, so if you can picture a Scottish clan, but make it werewolves, that's what it is. There's like a bunch of different Scottish clans, and they all are wolf shifters. They turn into werewolves with the full moon. Then you have the humans to the south. They're in the north, humans to the south. And they don't always get along. And in book 1, our human princess Aurora gets kidnapped by an alpha of the wolf shifter clan named Callum, and he holds her captive. It was very fast paced. It was fun. It was interesting. The things you start finding out and the politics that you start seeing that's going on between the humans and the wolves. It was just a lot. I loved it. It was a great time. But then we get to book 2. And book 2, I had such high hopes for, because I loved book 1 so much. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil what's happening in book 2. I was bored for like 60% of the book, unfortunately. There wasn't too much going on. There was a ton of miscommunication. But the last 40% is what saved that book for me, because it drastically changed. It was so much better. It's exactly what I pictured the entire book to be. And then it ended, and I realized it wasn't a duology. There's another book coming out. I don't know how many are going to be in this series, but I feel like when I originally started it, it was meant to be a duology. And maybe, if that's true, because I could be completely wrong, but if that's true, maybe that's where that beginning part of book 2 came and kind of was like fluff that was not needed, and in my opinion didn't do too much for the story. Maybe. I don't know if I'll be continuing this series. If it was just based on book 1, I would recommend it, but at this moment, no. I don't think I would, unfortunately, because book 1 was so good. Those are all the series that I have completed so far this year. I actually think I've done a pretty good job. There are so many books where I've started series and not finished them, and I think I really need to start prioritizing getting some of those finished, because the more time that goes in between me reading them, the less likely I'm going to finish it. Or once I get back to reading the series, I'm going to have to do a reread to kind of catch myself up. Am I the only one that's that way? That just keeps putting things off and off and off? I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these series and what you thought of them, or if they're currently on your TBR. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today and going through all of these series with me. If you are new, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. I would appreciate it. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one.